Sit down. Can they come forward? This is your Victoria Peace, Success, Precious, and Victor. Can they come here, please? Victoria Peace, Success, Precious, and Victor. We are going to sing happy birthday to
No. They want to recognize somebody in spread. All right. So Alan,
ladies and gentlemen, we want to recognize the presence of Mr. and Mrs. Alan Azade of Amigo, Chairman of Amigo. Please a round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. Amigo Town Union, Chairman of Amigo Town Union, London, UK. Chief Mr. and Mrs. Allen. You're welcome to that.
birthday girls and boys. Please, parents, can you join us and children? Sing. Where are the birthday boys? Boy and girl. Where are they, please?
You are invited to dance on the floor now. The chairman has taken vacation. The children are back at it. It's now left for you to have a dance. Ladies and gentlemen, dance, 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 and join me. Thank you very much.
Adults, mommies, daddies, aunties, uncles, we are going to sing. Nannies, we are going to sing happy birthday. Are you ready to sing happy birthday for your friends? Are you ready? Okay, we're going to sing. Look at them. They are all at the cake table. Okay, we are going to take it one by one, yeah? We start with Victor, yeah? Okay. Happy birthday. Please, adults, please, we are going to sing with them. 1, 2, go. Happy birthday to you.
Victor.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Victor. Happy birthday to you. How old are you now? How old are you now? Victor.
I'm 6.
Clap for him, he's 6. Come on. You stand here. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday.
Victoria. Entertainer.
Are you now? How old are you now? How old are you now? How old are you now? 5. Clap for her. Come on. Success. Success. And this one.
Where is success?
Come on, Daddy, table. We are singing happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to success. Happy birthday to you. And we sing for Precious too. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to us. Happy birthday to you. How old are you now? How old are you now? She's 3. She's 1. Hip, hip, hip. Hip, hip, hip. Hip, hip, hip.
Ladies and gentlemen, you are singing as if you haven't eaten the rice and the rice. What is the matter today? Please, please, please. We are not here for... Has somebody died here? Has somebody died here? Come on, we are here to enjoy ourselves. Look at the way the children are singing. What is the matter with all of us here? My man, please give them some drink if they haven't had some ogura so that they can open their mouth louder. Now, for the final time, please, let us make it a lively one. Come on, let's sing happy birthday to them. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday. Open your mouth. Come on. Happy birthday, dear Victor. Happy birthday to you. One more.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, Big Soul. Happy birthday to you.
This is my daughter, you know. She ate a lot of food here today. Now, please, a round of applause for them. Thank you very much.
Mommy.
Now, a very big music for them. Let us see them dance well. They are dancing like DJ. Give them that. Victor is going to cut the cake. Please, let's count 1 to 3. And Victor is going to cut the cake. I think Victor is playing for Arsenal. Is that Arsenal? Okay, he's playing for Nigeria Green Eagles. Now, 1, 2, 3 for Victor. 1, 2, 3. Round of applause for Victor, please. Clap for him. Wonderful. Now let's go to Victoria. Victoria, ready? Oh, she plays for Spice Girls. Is that Spice Girls? Okay, Spice Girls. 1, Victoria. 2, 2.5, 3. Please, a round of applause for Victoria. Oh, Teletubby is the last one. Oh, typical Teletubbies. Okay. Teletubby.
Lala.
Success. Come on, you don't have to be shy now.
Success.
Okay, this is for success. Hold it. 1 for success. 2 for success. 2.5 for success. 3 for success. A round of applause of success now. Music for them. Thank you very much.
Mississippi, put it down. I'm the hottest round. Y'all can stop me now. Listen to me now. I'm lasting 20 rounds. And if you want me now, then come on get me now. Since you with me now, let's biggie bounce. Switch my style. People sing around. People gather round.
Thank the cameraman. We are here till tomorrow morning. The party has now started. Where you did? The party continues. We are here till tomorrow morning.
community, unu kaja kunu bianye, putabia kunu biagwa, kunu support on 191 Liz Biko.
gentlemen, very happy that all of you turned down. I'm quite happy. I thank you very much that you people came to support us with our children's birthday. May God bless all of you for coming. And the seed that the Lord have sowed in my house, may He sow it to one of you in Jesus' name. Amen. Those who is looking for husband, you will not go empty-handed. And those who is looking for children, you will not go empty-handed in Jesus' name. And I thank okay, those who is looking for wife, you will not go empty-handed in Jesus' name. And every mothers, I thank God that you people have turned to support us. And anytime you are doing something, invite us. My husband and I will come and support you in Jesus' name. Amen. Thank you very much. My Lord is good. My Lord is good. I will lift you higher. Anywhere I go, I will lift him higher. Lift him higher. Lift him higher. Daddy, Jesus is good. I will lift you higher, Daddy. Oh, anywhere I go, I will lift you higher. Thank you, Daddy Jesus.
Chineke indima, 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 indima.
Chineke idima, 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 idima. Ladies and gentlemen, actually that was to tell you that you are just appreciated for this particular day. I think we are leaving by 11 o'clock if I'm right. 11 o'clock we have to clear up. Just finally, I would like to thank everybody for being here. May God bless you.
Thank you very much. God bless you all. Amen. God is good. God is back. St. John's Community Hall. There's a party going on here tonight. You're welcome.
Circumstance of interest in this wedding around.
I doubt that William is actually dreading this wedding. He hates pomp and ceremony, he hates flummery, he hates all that sort of thing. And I think he will be thinking now, God, I just want to get this over with, and I want to go back to Anglesey and be a helicopter pilot with his new wife.
She said that she met this really nice boy, and she said, boy. I said, right. I said, what's his name? And she said, Willie.
We were on a trip with some very sick children, and at the end William said to me, you know, Arthur, you must never retire. And I said, William, I'm not going to retire till I take your wedding pictures. He said, you'll have a bit of a wait, but it wasn't too long.
After years of waiting, speculation and rumours, Prince William of Wales and Catherine Middleton are to be married. And nobody who watched their smiling faces as they announced their engagement could deny that these were two people who were very much in love.
You know, when I first met Kate, I knew there was something very special about him, and that I knew that there was possibly something that I wanted to explore there. But we ended up being friends for a while, and that just sort of was a good sort of foundation. I'm obviously extremely funny, and she loves that, so it's really good.
This marriage is important to the future of the monarchy because people see William as the new golden boy, and with his beautiful bride, they can carry forward maybe where Charles and Diana left off, or maybe they can do what Charles and Diana never did, which was work as a brilliant team. And you know, the world is really their oyster. They can do so much, and I think that's what the Queen sees in this union, and it's very, very important that it works, and she is putting all her support behind it.
I think the royal family is obviously incredibly fond of Kate. The Queen must have given her discreet seal of approval. Prince Charles was very effusive when they announced their engagement, and Prince Harry gave them the ultimate accolade, saying that Kate was like a sister to him.
So, Britain is set for the biggest royal event since the marriage of Charles and Diana over 30 years ago. But this is going to be a very modern royal marriage, of a new, modern style of royal couple.
I think most would agree that it stands a very, very high chance of success, this marriage, because they know each other so well. That said, they've got more pressure on them than almost any other royal couple before them, because obviously the Queen has had 3 out of her 4 children divorcing, so the pressure on William to make this work is unbelievable.
Over the next hour, we're going behind the scenes of the biggest royal event for 30 years. An exclusive glimpse of the people who make it all happen. From the chefs to the cake makers, and from the florists to the carriages. And, of course, the dress.
Everything, from where people are sitting, to the timing, to the carriages, to the food, the drink, the flowers, everything will be planned to the tiniest detail.
On the day of the wedding, when they're coming back from the church, everything in the kitchen starts to get a bit hectic. Before that, it's quite regimented and organised. But the sooner it gets to the time for the wedding breakfast, that's when the panic buttons start.
It's an amazing feeling to create a royal wedding cake, because it's something different, it's something unique. This is possibly a cake for the future King of England.
They're calling it one of the great love stories of our time. And it all started when William first met Kate at St Andrews University in Scotland, when they were both just 19.
We were friends for over a year first, and it just sort of blossomed from then on. We just spent more time with each other and had a good giggle, had lots of fun, and realised we shared the same interests and just, you know, had a really good time. She's got a really nice sense of humour, which kind of helps me because I've got a very dead sense of humour. So it was good fun. We had a really good laugh, and then things happened.
It was a slow burning thing. It started off as a friendship. They were in halls together, they had classes together, they had things in common. It then extended to getting to know each other better on the sports field, and then it was the fashion show that allegedly, and I think truthfully, made William view Kate in a totally different way. And I'll never forget it, she walked out in this sort of amazing, sort of slightly see-through negligee, and most people there realised his eyes just sort of followed her around. That was the day that he began to look at her in a different way.
Well, at St Andrews, girls literally threw themselves at William. They really did. And Kate didn't. And of course, you know, all men like to chase. And I think she gave him a bit of a good run. And obviously he started to fall deeply in love with her.
They lived together in St University. They shared a flat and later a house. They ordered takeaways. They cooked together in the kitchen and burnt the odd saucepan, and generally lived like any other student romance.
I think, needless to say, William was very much viewed as a catch by the young ladies at the time. He was also physically looking very good. There were really nice shots of him in sort of camel-coloured jumpers and blue jeans, sort of, you know, slumping on the bonnet of his car outside Highgrove. So he had become a man, and I think the women of the world were aware of that.
Eventually, Prince William popped the question to Catherine, while on a romantic holiday at the Liwa Game Reserve in Kenya.
He carried the engagement ring, his mother's engagement ring, which quite frankly is worth a fortune, around in his rucksack for 3 weeks. Thank goodness he didn't lose it.
I think that the fact that William gave Kate his mother's ring was incredibly important, because they are the two women that he's obviously loved more than anyone else, and they are sort of united by the ring. And Kate's intelligent enough to know that, you know, it's a sign of great respect that he gave her his mother's ring.
On the day of the photo call, we had a cup of tea with William and Kate, several of us, and he said to me, I'd like you to meet Kate, Arthur, and introduced me to her. And he then went on to, you know, show me the ring that, of course, is Diana's ring. And I said, well, I must take a photograph of that. And that's when he called me and said, Arthur, will you come and take a picture of the ring? And I did. And she was so nervous, her hand was shaking. He had to hold her hand steady so I could photograph it.
So the date is set. Friday, the 29th of April. The wedding invites have gone out and the venue has been chosen. Westminster Abbey.
The whole point of the Abbey, with Henry III building it, was to build the most magnificent church in the world for these great ceremonies. I think it really was established by the marriage of the Queen and then the Queen's sister, Princess Margaret, her daughter, Princess Anne. And it was really a big break by then with tradition when Prince Charles went to St. Paul's in 1981. Before the ceremony begins, Prince William, his best man, the royal family will all be in place up before the high altar. And then Kate will process up from the West End through the whole length of the nave, through the choir screen, to join her future husband up on the great steps where their kneelers are going to be placed. And then the ceremony takes place up by the high altar, and then at the end of it they process back down through the choir, through the nave, to the great clanging chimes of the organ, and in a way to the applause perhaps of people outside the Abbey who've been watching it on great screens.
William has chosen his brother Harry to be his best man at his wedding, while Kate Middleton's sister Philippa will be her maid of honour. Around 2,000 guests have been invited to the wedding ceremony at Westminster Abbey, and a further 600 to the reception at Buckingham Palace.
Well, the wedding is scheduled to start at 11 o'clock, which means it will start at 11 o'clock. And they really dislike the bride being late. I think Diana was 32 seconds late, and it sort of wobbled the arrangements. And after the wedding, William and Kate will drive back in an open carriage to Buckingham Palace, and I think they are then scheduled to be on the balcony for the kiss at about 1 o'clock. And then there will be a reception at the palace, and William and Kate will drive back to Clarence House for a rest before the evening's festivities begin.
This wedding is going to be quite an unusual royal wedding. Kate is the first commoner for 350 years to marry a future king, so there will be a variety of middle-class relatives of the Middletons, as well as the usual array of royals and aristocrats and heads of state.
The ticket to the Abbey is the hottest ticket in town. We know that. And I think the main thrust is going to be William and Kate's friends. I mean, obviously after 9 years together, they've got mostly mutual friends. But William's also said that he wants some representatives of his charity there. Then obviously there'll be the Middleton family and their friends.
I think William's perfect idea of a wedding would be an elopement. I think he would rather go off to Kenya, to Jacka Craig's estate, get married there in privacy with his parents and her parents and a few close friends. I think William would like the wedding to number no more than about 25. However, that ain't gonna happen.
One of the key elements of any wedding are the flowers. Edward Goodyear in London have been providing them to the royal family since the time of Queen Victoria, and are currently florists by royal appointment to both Her Majesty the Queen and the Duke of Edinburgh. They are creating one of the table arrangements for the wedding reception in Buckingham Palace.
Kate and William, they're obviously very English and very classic. They probably go quite neutral because it's sort of the most modern trend at the moment. And it's very sort of wild and country feel, which we think they'll probably both quite like because they don't like the regalness. They're sort of down-to-earth, modern young couple.
The table centres are extremely important because of the size of the rooms. So they do need some very special arrangements.
We've got about a selection of about 8 different varieties of flowers just to fill it up and give it a bit of variety. But obviously all sort of within the same colour scheme and different shapes and textures to make the arrangement look quite varied.
Her Majesty the Queen is very interested in flowers, and she loves particular flowers, which I can't say really because that's a personal thing, but she definitely loves flowers, and she actually loves arranging her own personal flowers that she's given.
This one I've got here is lilac, which is very popular in spring. That's which will be readily available at the time of their getting married. And you've got the big white hydrangea heads here. They're quite sort of classic and English, and this is the Gilda rose, just to give it a bit of variety and a bit of colour.
The inspiration is that the arrangement is very English and could have come from a very large church in the country. It's got an English feel to it and has English flowers, but it also has the Kentian fern, which of course is where William and Kate were engaged or got engaged. Yeah.
This is a cream avalanche rose, English grown, and we believe this is what Lady Diana had in her bouquet on her wedding day when she married Charles. Just quite a nice link because we believe obviously William wants her to be part of the day, and we think that they might pick that up with the flowers. We've got these beautiful orchids to drape in, which Diana had in her bouquet. Not traditionally English, but incredibly beautiful and quite modern for a young couple. When this is on the table, it's going to smell absolutely amazing because obviously you've got the roses and the lilac. It's going to smell fantastic, but you've also got some sort of organic foliages, so you've got the rosemary and that sort of thing in there, and that's going to smell absolutely beautiful.
When you're dealing with a royal event, there is always the pressure of doing the work absolutely to the top standard, and sometimes because there are many other staff working on the tables or whatever, that provides some difficulties, but the pressure is really because it's such a special occasion always.
This is obviously a lot bigger arrangement than what the average person would have on their wedding day. Mainly because they're royals and it's going to be seen by the world, and it will be replicated a million times over and watched by millions and millions, so it's a lot of pressure for whoever's doing it.
The wedding dress is for many the main talking point of the day. But what will it look like? And who's making it?
But I think when you go on the catwalk, you know, they would probably put like the veil and stuff. And
Elizabeth Emanuel made the iconic fairy tale wedding dress for Princess Diana and knows all too well the pressures of the job.
Well, I've got to say, when we heard that we were going to be doing the wedding dress, that's when the pressure started, because we were aware that there was going to be hundreds of millions of people watching, and so although we tried to put that to the back of our minds, you know, it was lucky we had a lot to think about, and we were very, very busy, because otherwise, you know, it would have almost been too much.
Diana was very hands-on in the design and creation of her dress.
Well, we wanted to make the dress very dramatic, and we thought, well, you know, traditionally the wedding dress does have a train, but let's make it the longest possible. So Diana liked that idea that we would make it longer than any other royal wedding train. So the longest, we'd done a bit of research, I think was 23 feet. So we thought, let's add on the extra 2, make it really, really long. But still, looking back at the footage from those years ago, you know, you see her coming out the coach, and that is my favourite shot of all time, when she's coming out of the coach, and she's virtually at the top of the steps of St Paul's, and her train is still in the coach. And I just love that, and I don't think either of us realised the impact. You know, we were thinking in our heads of doing the dress, the train, and visions of it up the aisle, but that bit was my favourite when she was going up the steps. I loved that.
30 years on, and it will be Catherine Middleton's turn to stun the world in her own wedding dress. But what will it look like?
I think it's very, very possible that Catherine may want to, you know, surprise everybody, because, you know, she's seen being photographed and making statements with what she wears now, and it may be she'll want people to, you know, be surprised. There may be an interesting twist on the design, something unexpected, and especially if there are no rules and regulations, you don't really know what that might be.
I don't think she's going to basically go for the typical meringue, but I think something very, very maybe fitted on the actual waist and fitted onto the hips, but the fullness at the side. Possibly, I think, a full-length veil and a very regal sort of type tiara. I think possibly with a hair down, possibly maybe half up, half down. But I think she's generally going to go for something very classic, nothing too over the top.
I think Kate's gone from a traditional home counties girl in her cowboy boots and jeans and flowery skirts to quite an elegant young woman, and I'm sure, just as Princess Diana was emulated around the world, I'm sure Kate will be. Her top-shop dress that she wore on her 25th birthday, and the Easter dress that she wore for her engagement announcement, sold out within hours.
I think Kate will become a complete and utter superstar. Everywhere she goes, she's going to be photographed. Her clothes are already copied. Her look, her hair, her shoes, what she says. People will hang on to her every word. And, you know, she will be like, she's our Hollywood, she's our movie star.
Jessica Hay was Catherine's closest friend and roommate at Marlborough College. For 3 years, they shared their work, their secrets, and their crushes.
William did come to a hockey game at one point when we were at Marlborough, and obviously Catherine is an amazing hockey player. She played centre forward, and she was the captain of the first hockey team. And I think as soon as he saw her, his eyes lit up. She said, I'd love to become a princess one day. I'd love to marry Prince William. It would be just, you know, the icing on the cake. It would be a wonderful life, and he seems like a lovely guy. And the fact that she was so down to earth about it made it seem like she probably was going to go, you know, that's probably fate. And it's happened. It's very, very odd.
For Kate's generation, William was definitely the #1 pin-up. He was the most eligible bachelor in Britain, if not the world. So every girl wanted to snare him, and I'm sure Kate was no different.
But according to Jessica, it wasn't only William who was a pin-up.
All of the older boys absolutely loved her. She was put on the top of the fit list. So, but she wasn't really interested. She preferred to just concentrate on her own future rather than, you know, boys running after her, which they did.
I think she's a very sensible girl. I think she's very grounded. She comes from a very loving and stable family, and I think that's what attracts William.
Obviously, after Marlborough, she went to university. We lost touch for a couple of months, and then she got back in touch with me. And I was traveling around America at the time, and she said that she'd met this really nice boy. And she said, "Boy." I said, "Right." I said, "What's his name?" And she said, "Willie." Willie. I said, "All right, it sounds nice." And she said, "Oh, you've met him before, Eton." And it was. Then we found out that it was the same Willie that I'd met years and years before. And she did say that he was absolutely lovely, and she said she thinks she might have fallen in love.
No wedding is complete without a stunning wedding cake. David McCaffrey has made them for the royal weddings of Prince Andrew and Sarah Ferguson, as well as Prince Edward and Sophie Rhys-Jones. And now he's busy on a huge creation for William and Catherine.
And when I'm embracing a royal wedding cake, I'm embracing the monarchy, but the history of the monarchy, so the grandeur, etc. So it's going to be something very lavish, very ornate, something that people are going to go, hopefully, wow. And, you know, it'll just be standing there and I'll go, I want the wow factor kind of thing, and big.
David has decided to create a massive 7-tiered fruit cake, covered first in marzipan and decorated with royal icing sugar.
The first step of preparation would be putting marzipan on the fruit cake. There's 2 reasons that we do this. One, it's a surface to coat the royal icing onto, and secondly, it seals the fruit cake from the royal icing and keeps the cake fresh. It's like plastering a wall. So if you're into plastering, it's the same scenario. You're spreading the icing onto the cake, coating the cake around the sides. Next stage is the overpiping. Once you've done all your coating and you're happy with it, you know, weigh the cake up, start with the piping, and basically we're just going to build layers and layers of piping. And there's no rules, there's no, you know, you can go as fine or as detailed as you want to, but to create the lavish look, the ornate look, the antique look, etc., we want to go with lots of different layers. So we would start with a thicker piping tube and start piping the layers around once the pattern's sort of being created, and then from that more and more layers on top. And it's a case of keeping your hands straight rather than shaking, because if you're feeling nervous, if you're having a bad day, obviously the piping won't turn out as good as it can do, you know. So it's all about the mindset, it's all about staying calm and enjoying the experience rather than getting stressed out about it, you know. Sometimes I do, but you know, 99% of the time I'm happy, and I'm just saying to myself, it doesn't matter what time it is, it doesn't matter if I have to work extra hours to do this, it's a case of giving my best shot and getting it so I'm happy with it at the same time as hopefully everyone else will be. It's an amazing feeling to create a royal wedding cake, because it's something different, it's something unique, it's something special, you know. I mean, I treat everyone, every bride and groom who comes to us as special, but this is possibly a cake